Got some sales data for 4 consecutive years, separated by month, and our goal, or we've been asked to forecast the sales for July in year number 5. So typically what I've seen people do is they would take the totals for every year, they would slap a linear forecast on it, calculate the total figure for year 5, and then divide by 12 in order to get the monthly forecasts. However, as we can see by this graph, and as should be common sense, sales tend to take on seasonal patterns, and as we can see here, this sales are quite seasonal. In the middle of the year, sales go down quite considerably, so we need to take that into account if we want to forecast sales for specific months. On the left here we see this graph. We've put a linear forecast on there. It doesn't look too bad, but if we take a look at a polynomial regression or a quadratic form, we see that this type of forecast or regression actually is a lot closer, is a much better fit to the data. So taking a forecast from the polynomial or the quadratic form will give you much better forecast results than if you just use a linear regression, and that is something that you would need to understand when to use by looking at the data. Also, typically a quadratic regression would be used, very regularly used, when your independent variable is time, like the years over here. So in order to calculate the forecasted sales for July, you simply take the total for the 5th year regression. So let's just add the 5th year. I've already done the regression, so that would be the forecasted value for the 5th year, and then we can take that divided by 12. Now, as I mentioned, simply dividing by 12 is not going to be sufficient because we don't take into account the seasonality of the sales. So what you do then is you calculate a seasonal index by which you can then multiply your monthly average, which will give you a much better forecast, taking into account the seasonality of the sales. So now, using the seasonal index, we can say with a lot more accuracy, taking into account that we've used quadratic regression instead of linear regression, and also that we've used seasonal index to account for the seasonality of the sales. And there we've got our forecasted sales figure for July of the 5th year.